Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to take you on a little trip today. I want you to just close your eyes and picture a very specific scene.
Oh, I love a good scene setting.
Right. So it is late evening. Specifically, it is 9:00 p.m. on a Monday night. The date is June 27, 1966.
A very specific Monday.
Very specific. We are in Elmira, New York, and we're sitting in the living room of Jane Roberts and her husband, Ruburt Butts.
It's the classic setting for this material, really. But tonight, the atmosphere isn't quite the usual routine.
No, it's not. The lights are probably low. The air is likely still. It is June, so maybe it's a bit warm. But the vibe in the room, the vibe is just uncertain.
It is incredibly uncertain, and honestly, it is physically uncomfortable.
Exactly, because we are about to look at a moment where the mundane, gritty reality of having a stomach ache meets the absolute high strangeness of metaphysical channeling.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's one of the most relatable yet completely chilling sessions we have ever covered in these deep dives.
It really is. I mean, it grounds the supernatural in a way that very few other accounts do. Usually we think of channeling as this ethereal, perfect process.
Right, like glowing lights and deep meditation.
Well, exactly. But here, we see the biological cost.
Because today's deep dive involves a disembodied consciousness, an entity that calls itself Seth-giving, what essentially amounts to gym advice.
It does sound ridiculous when you put it that way, but yes, it is essentially cosmic coaching.
But then, right alongside that humor, you have this eerie mechanism of the channel itself. You have a woman, Jane, who is so unwell she doesn't know if she can even speak.
Yeah, she's really indisposed.
And she literally surrenders control of her vocal cords to an entity just to see if she can talk. It is this wild mix of the helpful personal trainer and the absolute surrender of the self.
It is a fascinating juxtaposition. You have the domestic reality of 1966, the furniture, the illness, the husband taking notes, and the infinite reality of consciousness colliding in a 14-minute window.
So before we get into the ghostly workout tips and the remote viewing experiments, because yes, there is a detective story in here too, we need to set the ground rules for where we are getting this intel.
Right. We are looking exclusively at session 271 of the Early Sessions Book 6 of the Seth Material. And as you mentioned, the date of record is June 27, 1966.
And for everyone listening, we just need to be super clear. This deep dive is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes. We are just here to learn, to explore, and to share this incredible information.
Precisely. And we have to give credit where it is due. This material comes to us from the New Awareness Network.
Yes.
If you find what we are talking about today interesting, and I suspect you will because it touches on the very nature of how we handle stress, you really need to go to the source.
Absolutely. We are just the guides here. We're the ones holding the flashlight, but the real treasure is in the books themselves.
You can find the original Seth Material and support the publisher by visiting the New Awareness Network website and bookstore at sethcenter.com/the early sessions.
Highly recommend.
I cannot urge you enough to go check that out. Reading the raw sessions is a totally different experience from just hearing us talk about them.
Okay, legalities and credits handled. Let's get to the mission.
The mission today is to unpack a very brief but incredibly dense session. It is only about 14 minutes long in real time.
14 minutes.
But in those 14 minutes, we cover physical health, the trap of the human ego, and a remote viewing experiment involving a mysterious gray stone object.
It's a lot for 14 minutes. It's like a microcosm of the whole Seth phenomenon.
Yeah.
So let's start with the context. We mentioned Jane was indisposed.
That is the polite term used in the notes, yes.
Right, so it's 9:00 p.m. Jane Roberts, who Seth refers to as Ruburt, is feeling sick. Now, let's put ourselves in her shoes for a second. In a normal scenario, if you're sick, you cancel your meeting.
Of course.
You call in sick to work, you go to bed with some tea and a hot water bottle.
Exactly. Self-preservation kicks in. You just want to curl up and disconnect.
But here, the dynamic of trust is just wild to me. The notes say she asked her husband if she should even have a session. She's looking for input. But then she said she would try and let Seth make the decision as to whether she continued.
Let's pause on that for a second. Think about the implications of that statement. Let Seth make the decision.
Yeah. It's not, I'll see how I feel. It's not, I'll give it 5 minutes and stop if it hurts.
No. She is essentially handing over the executive function of her own biology to another consciousness. She is saying, I don't know if I'm well enough to talk, so I will step out of the driver's seat, let you get in, and you tell me if the car is broken.
That is, it's chilling. It really is. It implies a level of intimacy with this entity that is just hard to comprehend for most of us.
It is a profound level of surrender. It implies that this entity, Seth, has a better gauge on her physical capabilities than she does herself, or that his energy might somehow override her physical limitations. It raises the question of who actually owns the body during a session.
It's like she's the tenant and he's the landlord coming in to check the pipes.
That's a very good analogy. And she trusts the landlord completely not to wreck the place.
And the transition is instant, right? It's not some long meditation where she burns incense for an hour.
No, it's almost instant. The notes say she begins speaking in a quiet voice at 9:41 p.m. So within 1 minute of deciding to try, she is gone, and Seth is there.
Wow.
And there is a visual detail here that I love, and I want you, the listener, to really visualize this. Her eyes begin to open soon after speaking.
Which is significant, right?
Very, because in the early sessions, her eyes were often closed. She was in a deep trance. Seeing the eyes open suggests a different level of interaction with the physical environment, which we will see is important for the remote viewing experiment later.
So picture it. 9:01 p.m., she's sick, she slumps into the chair.
Yeah.
Then the posture changes. The voice drops to that quiet tone. The eyes flutter open, maybe looking a little glossy, a little distant. And what is the first thing this ancient metaphysical entity has to say?
You'd think it would be profound.
Right. Does he reveal the secrets of the universe?
Mm-hmm.
Does he explain the origin of God? No. He talks about exercise.
He does.
Seth opens with, "Good evening," and then immediately says, a brief note. Ruburt should continue with his exercises.
And he is emphatic about it. He says, I suggest this, in fact, very strongly.
I just love the relatability of it. You have this spectral voice, this channel into the unknown, and he's nagging you to do your calisthenics.
It's fantastic.
It grounds the supernatural in the very mundane reality of daily maintenance. It's like, yes, you're a multidimensional being, but also do your squats.
It is funny, but if we peel back the layer of humor, there's a very deep philosophical core here. This isn't just about physical fitness. We need to be careful not to dismiss it as just lifestyle advice from a ghost.
Right. He's not talking to getting a beach body. He's not telling her to count macros or get her steps in for the day.
Not at all. He says the exercises are unusually beneficial for him. But listen to the reason why. This is the key. He says they allow him to step aside in a regular and disciplined fashion from the worrisome aspects of his ego.
The worrisome aspects of his ego. Okay, let's unpack this, because this is the big aha moment for me. This feels like the centerpiece of the first half of the session.
It is the core of this segment. We tend to think of exercise as a physical act for a physical result. Muscle tone, cardiovascular health, losing a few pounds.
Sure.
Seth is flipping that completely upside down. He is saying the psychic benefits quite outweigh their physical benefits.
That is a huge statement. Psychic benefits. And just to clarify, he doesn't mean psychic like reading tea leaves, right?
No. In this context, psychic refers to the psyche, the mind, the spirit, the inner self. He is suggesting that the ego, the part of us that plans, worries, frets, tries to control everything, is a bit of a tyrant.
A prison warden almost.
Exactly. Seth actually uses that word later. He says, at such times as now, referring to her being sick, the ego imprisons him and he does not allow himself inner freedom.
Man, the ego imprisons him. That hits hard, because I think we all know that feeling.
It does. Think about when you are stressed or sick. What does your mind do?
It spins, it loops. Why am I sick? When will I get better? I have so much to do. I'm falling behind. Did I eat something bad? Is this going to last all week? Who's going to feed the cat if I can't get up?
That is the ego. That is the worrisome aspect. It tightens its grip. It tries to solve the problem by worrying about it. It thinks if it analyzes the sickness enough, it can somehow control it.
Right.
But it actually just creates a cage. This disconnects you from your body's natural ability to heal because you're so focused on the concept of being sick.
So Seth is arguing that physical exercise, discipline, regular movement forces the ego to shut up.
Yes. It acts as a distraction mechanism. But more than distraction, it's a displacement.
Because you have to focus on the movement.
Partly. But also it changes the energy. When
Yeah.
you are moving the body, you are engaging in a rhythm that breaks that static mental loop. It allows you to step aside. It creates a gap in the worry where the inner freedom can come through.
So the workout is actually a spiritual escape hatch.
Precisely. It provides daily relief and creative refreshment. It's not about burning calories. It's about burning off the mental fog of the ego so the creative self can breathe. It's about showing the ego that it isn't the only thing that exists.
That is such a powerful takeaway for you as a listener.
I think so too. It transforms the whole concept of the workout.
Even if you aren't a medium channeling a book, even if you aren't interested in the occult, the idea that exercise is a tool to break the prison of worry is just universal.
It is. It reframes the whole activity. You aren't working out to look good. You are working out to get free.
To get free from your own head. I love that. It turns the gym into a sanctuary.
Correct. And Seth even adds a practical carrot on the stick. He says if she restarts the exercises, she will notice an immediate improvement. He connects the physical action directly to the relief of the illness.
It's almost like he's prescribing a ritual. Do this physical thing and the metaphysical blockage will clear.
That is a great way to put it. A ritual of movement to banish the stagnation of the mind.
So, Seth gives his prescription. Do the exercises to escape the ego trap. But then, the session takes a hard left turn. We go from the philosophy of health to something completely different.
A very hard turn.
At 9:07 p.m., barely 6 minutes into the session, Seth shifts gears. He says, "Now give us a moment, please, and we shall give our in-stream material now."
And just for context for the listener, Dr. InStream was a recurring target for these experiments. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have instant messaging. The goal was for Seth, through Jane, to perceive objects or events connected to this person, Dr. InStream, at a distance.
So we go from gym advice to a psychic detective story.
We do, and the vibe shifts completely. Seth starts describing impressions.
This is where it gets fun. He's not looking with eyes, really. He's feeling it out. It feels like he's groping in the dark.
Right. He says these are impressions. He isn't claiming to see a high-definition photograph. He is decoding data.
Let's look at the clues he finds. He starts with texture and material. He describes a stone object.
A stone object with an edge, fairly sharp edge, I believe.
And he gets specific about the shape. The object is rectangular, and for stone, fairly uniform.
Note the hesitation in his voice, or rather the text, I believe, fairly uniform. He is interpreting. And then there is a visual note in the transcript, eyes open briefly.
Oh, that's creepy. So just for a second, Jane's eyes pop open.
It is interesting. He says, it is gray in color.
Gray stone. Rectangular, sharp edge.
Okay.
That could be a brick, could be a paving slab, but then he adds layers to it.
He sees something on top of it. A metal object sits on it, perhaps in miniature.
And this is where the specificity really jumps out at me. Up until now, it's been somewhat vague. Stone,
Yeah.
gray, rectangle. But then he says, I have the impression that the object on the stone represents a man on a horse.
A man on a horse.
That is very specific.
It is. That's not just a blob. That is a distinct, complex image.
It contrasts so sharply with his uncertainty about the rest of the object. He can see a man on a horse, but he struggles with the scale of the whole thing.
Yeah, he says, the whole object may itself be in miniature. He's confused about the size. Why is that? Why can he see the horse but not know how big it is?
That is the question.
Think about it. If you are viewing something remotely, without physical reference points, without a body to stand next to it, scale is hard to determine. Is it a statue in a park? Or a paperweight on a desk? If you see a picture of the Eiffel Tower with no background, it could be the real thing or a keychain.
That makes a lot of sense. He's seeing the form, but he lacks the spatial context. He doesn't have the stereoscopic vision of a human standing there in the room.
Exactly. And he tries to figure out the function to help determine the size. He connects it to a desk.
The object seems to have a purpose or function connected with a desk.
So deductive reasoning kicks in. He's acting like a detective.
Yeah.
Is it a paperweight?
Seth doubts it. He says it would seem too small for a paperweight.
So what is it? A tiny man on a horse, on a gray stone rectangle, on a desk, but too small to hold papers.
Seth posits a theory. Perhaps there is a connection with a rubber stamp.
A rubber stamp.
That's what he says.
It's a fascinating leap. Maybe the handle is the figure, or the stone is the base. We don't know the verification in the specific text, but watching the consciousness try to interpret the visual data is the real story here.
It really is. It adds to the realism of the whole thing. If he just confidently said, it is a vintage letter opener from 1954, it would feel, I don't know, a bit staged.
Agreed. The uncertainty saying, I am not sure, or perhaps, makes it feel like a genuine struggle to translate non-physical perception into physical words. He is groping in the dark, feeling the shape of reality.
And he wraps this up by saying there's a tie-up of sorts this evening involving Dr. Instream.
Implying that whatever this object is, it is relevant right now to Dr. Instream. A connection or event is happening concurrently.
So we have the workout advice, we have the remote viewing of the man on the horse, and then that's it.
That's it.
The session ends at 9:15 p.m.
Total duration is roughly 14 minutes.
Seth signs off. And he is actually quite sweet about it. He doesn't push her limits.
He is. He acknowledges the brevity is for rather obvious reasons, Jane's illness, but he reassures them. He says the difficulty is quite temporary.
And he gives them permission to chill.
You are quite welcome to an evening off.
Which, again, coming from a disembodied entity, is a nice vibe. Take the night off, guys. Watch some TV. Don't worry about the secrets of the cosmos tonight.
I give you my heartiest wishes. It is very polite, very civilized.
But he does sneak in one last nag.
Of course. He can't help himself.
If Ruburt will begin his exercises again, he will notice an immediate improvement. He really wants her to do those squats.
He is persistent. He knows what works.
So the session ends. Jane comes back. What is her state?
The notes say she was dissociated as usual.
Meaning she wasn't there while Seth was talking.
Correct. She doesn't remember what was said. But the observer, Robert Butts, notes something interesting about her eyes again.
This was the second time recently her eyes had opened while giving experimental material.
Yes. And the note speculates perhaps this will become more usual.
Why do you think that is? I want to ask you as the expert here.
No.
Why do the eyes open for the in-stream material, the object reading, but they're usually closed for the philosophy stuff?
That is the million-dollar question. It raises a fascinating possibility about the mechanics of this whole phenomenon.
Go on.
When Seth is dictating philosophy concepts, ideas, advice, that is internal data, it flows from the mind directly to the voice. It's intellectual, it's abstract, you don't need eyes for that.
Right, you can do that in the dark.
But when he is doing experimental material, looking for a stone object, a man on a horse, he is engaging with the physical world. He is targeting a physical location.
So perhaps opening the physical eyes helps anchor the entity in the physical plane.
Exactly. It might be about triangulation. Or perhaps it is just a side effect of the intense focus required to describe physical objects. It blurs the line between the medium as a microphone and the medium as a camera.
That is a spooky thought to leave with the listener. The idea that something is looking out from behind those eyes, trying to make sense of our physical world.
It definitely adds a layer of high strangeness to the whole proceedings. It suggests that the entity isn't just in her head, but is actively using her biology to perceive.
So let's wrap this up. We've covered a lot in a short session. What are the big takeaways for you?
Well, first and foremost, the health advice. I think we shouldn't overlook that.
Cosmic calisthenics.
Exactly. The idea that physical exercise is a tool to escape the prison of the ego and worry. That is highly practical, applicable wisdom.
It validates every time you've gone for a run to clear your head. You aren't just clearing your head, you are escaping the ego's trap.
Secondly, the phenomenon itself. Even when the channel is sick, brief, and indisposed, they can access specific visual data. Gray stone, man on a horse, desk object.
The specificity is key. It's not just cold reading, it's remote perception.
And finally, the relationship, the dynamic between Seth and Jane. It is protective. He tells her to exercise for her own good. He cuts the session short so she can rest. It is disciplined, but it is deeply benevolent.
It's not a possession in the horror movie sense, it's a partnership. A partnership with very clear boundaries.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of this deep dive into session 271.
It does. A short session, but a powerful one.
Before we go, I want to remind everyone again, this was session 271 from the Seth Material.
Specifically, you can find it in the early sessions, book 6.
We want to give full credit to the New Awareness Network for preserving and publishing this incredible material.
Please go visit sethcenter.com, the early sessions. Support the publisher. Buy the books. There is so much more in there than we can ever cover in a deep dive.
And as always, this deep dive is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes. We do this for the love of the mystery.
Absolutely.
So I want to leave you with one final thought, something to chew on while you're driving home or doing your exercises.
Let's hear it.
Seth said the psychic benefits of exercise outweigh the physical because it frees you from the ego. He turned a jumping jack into a spiritual act.
He really did. So, here's the question. If a simple workout is actually a spiritual escape hatch, what other mundane parts of your day are actually magic in disguise that you're ignoring? Is washing the dishes a meditation? Is driving to work a form of astral travel?
It makes you wonder, if you change your perspective, does the mundane become the metaphysical?
I think it might. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Goodbye.
See you in this deep dive.